Welcome to session 1 of Soothe Your Shoulders. And in this session today, we will definitely need a yoga strap, or if you don't have a yoga strap or don't want to use it, you could use a kitchen towel, like a long hand towel instead, or something like it. And we won't need that to start just yet, so we'll just set that to the side. And then some other props you might enjoy would be a folded blanket, maybe a bolster. We are going to start our session in a seated shape of your choice. And so I like the bolster because it kind of takes some of the strain off of my hips and allows me to be a bit more supported so that I can focus on other areas of my body. And as always, everything in this class is your choice. It's how you want to move, how you want to be. You could choose to take everything that I offer. You could choose to take only some of it. Everything is an invitation. So that means that you reserve the right to accept or decline any of these invitations. So with that being said, I invite you to find a seated shape of your choice. You might sit cross-legged like I am, or if that's not going to be welcome to your body today, you could choose any other seated shape, perhaps extending your legs out in front of you, or maybe even stacking even more height underneath your hips using blocks or more blankets. So find a shape that suits you. It doesn't have to look the same as what I'm doing. And then when you feel settled, I invite you to decide if you would like to close your eyes, because you don't have to. But if it does help to begin to quiet your mind and turn your focus inward, you could close your eyes, or if you choose to leave your eyes open, you could simply just stare down the bridge of your nose, resting your eyes on an unmoving space. You might start by bringing some awareness to your upper body, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your upper back. What is the first thing here in this area of your body that you notice? There's no wrong answer. Whatever is present for you is valid. In this series, Soothe Your Shoulders, we will be focusing on this entire area, this upper body area, upper back, chest, shoulders, jaw, neck. And when we experience trauma, sometimes our bodies react by taking protective shapes. And in this area of our body, it could be by curling inward, so your shoulders curling inward, which could cause some neck pain, some chest tightness, some upper back discomfort, and all of this is usually just very natural in the sense of we don't even notice that we're doing it. It's just kind of first nature. So in this series, we will slowly be opening, gently coaxing the opening. We don't have to force anything. We don't have to rush through anything. And beginning to offer the body, your body, moments of safety so that these muscles and restrictive patterns and tightness that you might be experiencing can begin to soften. So with that, I offer you an affirmation for class today. And it's your choice if you want to work with it, but it is simply, my body softens at its own pace, or I will soften at my own pace. My body softens at its own pace. I will soften at my own pace. Or if you prefer, you could create your own affirmation to work with. And if you're ready, you might bring your hands to your jaw, perhaps even allowing your fingertips to find behind your ears and right where your jaw hinges. And you might begin to massage down the back of your jaw, using your fingertips to apply as much or as little pressure as you want. It's so often that we clench our jaws. I'm a chronic jaw clencher, and I often will find myself during moments of more stress clenching my teeth together, and my jaw muscles can get really tight and really hard and uncomfortable. And everything that happens in the body affects something else. So just by starting with this gentle jaw massage in any way that feels right to you, so you could even explore going beneath your jaw, kind of up towards your chin. You could reverse the movement. You will know, because you will feel it, exactly what your body responds to and what it doesn't. So we'll take just another 5 to 6 breaths here, massaging our jaws in any way that feels natural. Keeping in mind that you control the pressure and you control the rhythm, and you can change it at any time. Last couple breaths here. And if you don't feel ready to find completion, if this is serving you really well and you want to just stay here a little bit longer, you can. There's no need to rush off. You can do something different than what I'm doing. This is your practice. So beginning to find completion here with your jaw massage. I invite you to release your hands when you're ready, maybe placing them on the tops of your legs, and then you might begin to just intuitively move through your spine and your torso. So you could move side to side, or you might even move front to back. So you could draw your spine forward, peeling your shoulders back in a seated cat-cow. And then exhale, you might start to curve your spine back, maybe even tucking your chin and tailbone in. And the third option is that you could take spinal circles. So you could go in either direction, whatever works here. And we'll just spend another 4 breaths. So 4 inhales, 4 exhales, just feeling into our spine. And specifically noticing how your upper back is feeling. Like what's going on there? What kind of sensations are present? Does it feel tight? Does it feel spacious? What do you feel? One more breath in and out at your own pace. You might begin to slowly come back to center. Maybe taking 1 or 2 shoulder rolls as you do so. And then this next shape, you have a couple options. So option 1 is to clasp your hands behind your head. So we're not applying any pressure, just gently. And you could inhale here, begin to maybe find some spaciousness in your spine by growing a little bit taller. And then as you exhale, you might begin to slowly draw your chin towards your chest, applying just a little bit of pressure if it feels welcome. If it doesn't, you don't have to. And then inhale to lift your head back up. You might even lift your chin. You might notice here that peeling your elbows, your shoulders open adds a little bit of spaciousness. And then exhale to drop right back down. Now the second option is if the hands are just not working for you, just let them go. And just you can continue this movement without your hands behind your head. So you choose, and whatever you desire, you can do. We'll be here for another 2 or 3 breaths. If you're ready to find completion, you might finish up whatever movement you're on. And then inhaling. I'll meet you back at center whenever you get here. And then we'll just pause for a second, observing what sensations are present in your neck, your chest, maybe somewhere else in your body. Do you perhaps feel a sense of warmth or maybe relief? What does it feel like? With your next breath in, you might return to this tall spine. And then as you exhale, you could release one ear toward your shoulder. I'm going to start with my right side. Doesn't matter which side you start on though. And then you could just stay here. This is a good place to be. Or if you want to add a little bit more, if your right ear is toward your right shoulder, you could take your right hand and just gently place it on top of the left side of your head. Now, if this, just the weight of your hand is just applying too much pressure and it's increasing the stretch to a point that just doesn't feel welcome, you can just release your hand. No biggie. Noticing what's going on the open side of your neck, the side that's receiving the stretch. Does this stretch feel welcoming or does it feel really intense? Because if it feels really intense, remember that you control how much you feel this. So you can ease off or you can add more. You manage this. This is your body and your practice. One more breath here. And as always, you have the option to stay longer if you want to. But if you're ready to release, you could release your hand first, then slowly come back up. Taking a pause here. If it feels welcome to move your shoulders, you can. And just taking a second to kind of rebound before we rush off to the other side. If you're ready for the next side, you could allow your opposite ear to head on down toward the other shoulder. And then hand or no hand, it's up to you. And both sides of your body, I mean, our two sides are so different. So if you enjoyed the weight of your hand on one side, doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it on the other side. So kind of notice that. Does it feel welcome on both sides, or does one side feel like it's too much? And if so, maybe you give yourself permission to ease off, and maybe this side needs something different. Last breath or two here. If you're ready to release, you could do so at your own pace. Taking a moment to rebound. If you want to move your neck or your shoulders in any way, feel free to do so. All right. With your next breath in, option to join me in reaching your arms up overhead. As you exhale, you might start to bend your elbows for cactus arms, and peeling your elbows back, you might draw your chest forward. And then exhale, you might start to bring your elbows in front of you. Right arm dips low, left arm crosses on top for eagle arm. So option one, you focus on bringing the backs of your arms together. Option two is to wrap your bottom hand around to your top hand. And then we'll do just a little bit of a pulse here. So inhale, you might release the elbows down toward your chest. Exhale, you might draw the elbows up, shoulder height. Inhale, drop towards the chest. Exhale, lift towards the shoulders. Last one. Inhale, drop. Exhale, lift. Inhale, option to unravel the arms. Give them a stretch out on either side of you. Maybe roll through the wrists, through the shoulders. And then inhale, sweep the arms up. If you're ready for the next side, exhale, cactus the arms. Maybe you peel the chest open. And then exhale, left arm dips down first, right arm comes on top. Option one brings the back of your arms towards one another, or wrap around. And if you'd like to join me for the dips, you can inhale, dip your elbows down toward the chest. Exhale, lift the elbows up to shoulder height. Two more at your own pace. Last one. Inhale, if you're ready to unravel, go ahead and do so. Take a minute, rebound, feel your way through it. Okay, we'll take one more seated shape here, and then we'll change our orientation on our mat. So inhaling, reaching your arms up if you're ready for the next shape. You could take, I'm going to start on my right side. You could do either hand, but just for ease of explaining this, I'm going to use my right hand. So taking your right hand, or whichever, you could place your palm on the back of your spine. I'll turn so you can see me. So just like that. And then taking your left hand, or whichever one is reaching up, you could bring it to your top elbow. And then gently, you could start to peel your elbow back. Maybe start slowly so that your body has time to communicate with you and let you know how your body is responding. But you could start to peel your elbow back and noticing, what do you feel in this open part of your arm? What's going on there? What kind of sensation is present? And then just taking another 2 or 3 breaths at your own pace. However, if you want to leave sooner, you can. You don't need my permission. You can just do what feels right for your body. And if you're ready to release, you can stretch the arms out. Take a second to feel the difference between your right arm and your left arm. And then if you're ready for the next side, you could inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, your left hand, or whichever one is opposite, could come down toward your spine. Your right hand can come to your left elbow. And then gently begin peeling your left elbow back, noticing if this side wants to go deeper or shallower than your previous side, because it could be totally different. And then 2 or 3 more breaths here. With your next inhale, if you're ready to let go, you could do so. Take a second and kind of compare and contrast. How do your shoulders and your chest feel now, or this just whole vicinity, compared to when we took stock at the beginning of class? And just see what's different, what's the same. If you're ready to move on with me, you could find your way into a child's pose. And if you have blocks, I forgot to mention at the beginning of class, but if you have blocks, this would be a great time to grab them. And if you have sensitive knees, or just would prefer a little bit of padding, a little bit of support underneath your knees, you could take your blanket and use it on your mat. And then for this next shape, finding a child's pose to start. Now, to find a child's pose, you could take your knees a little bit wider than hip distance and then touch your toes back behind you. And then begin to send your hips back toward your heels. Now there's a couple options here. You could walk your hands out forward, releasing your forehead to the mat. Or if you prefer to be able to kind of gaze around and keep your gaze up, you could either turn your face to one side, or you could bring your elbows back, propping yourself up so that your gaze remains open. And if this shape is feeling a little bit like the back of you is exposed, you could take another blanket and just drape it over your hips, opening up the blanket as much as you need to, but just providing a sense of covering, if that's something that your body would appreciate. So So finding a child's pose that works for you, you could take a second to kind of ease into it. Three more conscious breaths here. Perhaps even bringing to mind your affirmation. My body softens at its own pace. Or maybe you're using the affirmation, I will soften at my own pace. Last breath here. Taking your blocks, if you are ready for the next shape, or if you're not, you can just stay exactly where you are for as long as you want. But taking your blocks, if you want to use them, two options for this next shape. Option one is from child's pose. You could bring the blocks a little bit closer. I start at medium height. You have 3 heights to your block. So this is medium. Wait, no, this is lowest. This is the lowest height. This is medium, and this is the tallest height. So I'm gonna start at the lowest setting, but you can decide for yourself where you want to start. And then bringing your elbows to the block, walking them out until you feel like you're at a good place. You could bring your hands together and then allowing your hands to drop toward your spine. You might have to adjust your blocks. So like my blocks were way too close together and there wasn't enough room for my head. So I'm gonna adjust those. And then also, if your shoulders are feeling kind of tight here, it could be because your elbows are too close together. So you might explore taking your elbows a little bit farther apart to the left and the right. So this is option one. Option two is very similar, but it's from puppy pose. So if you're happy in your child's pose, you can stay there. But if you're curious for the other shape, you could follow me here. So to come into the second version of the shape, you'd start in tabletop pose. And then for this one, I'm gonna go up to a medium height, I think. We're gonna try it and see what happens. So this next point is very important, not because of any particular reason of like abs or anything like that, but because it's gonna support your lower back and protect your lower back. So what you're gonna do is exhale and feel your core engage. And it doesn't have to engage 100%, but just like a solid, maybe 50%, just enough so that your lower back is stabilized. And then you could bring your elbows to your blocks, and your arm position is gonna be the same as last time. Hands can come together and then come towards your spine. And then just remembering to maintain the core engagement for your lower back support. You could release it, you could let it go, and then you'll receive a little bit more of a back bend. So it really just depends what you need in this shape. And then this version from puppy pose is much more intense. It's a much bigger opening. And I'm gonna actually return to the child's pose version. All right. We'll take just another couple of breaths here. Last one. If you're ready to release this shape, you could begin to ease your way out of it. Take your time. If you want to, you could just walk your hands back and find your way kind of sitting on your heels. if that's okay for your body, or you could swing your legs around, but just pausing for a second. Kind of just being with this experience, your experience. Being with the sensations in your body and your current experience. One more breath here. How do you feel? If your legs are feeling a little bit tight and they would appreciate a stretch before we move on to our next upper body stretch, option 1 is to find a tabletop shape, coming onto all fours, and you could just slowly stretch one leg back out behind you, maybe even curling your toes on the mat and just rocking back and forth, allowing your hamstrings a chance to open. You could switch sides whenever you want. If you want something a little bit more warming, you could find a down dog just by tucking your toes, lifting your hips, and allowing one heel to float down toward the mat, and then the other. So whatever you choose, we'll be here for the next 4 rounds of breath, 4 to 5. If you are in tabletop and you haven't already switched sides, you might do so. Your body will soften at its own pace. We don't have to rush. We don't have to force. It will happen. Just like a flower blooms and opens. Never rushed, never in a hurry, and yet it always happens at its own pace. If you're in down dog, you might slowly make your way down to your mat. And then we'll return back into a seated shape for our peak pose of the day, which is archer arms. And this is when we'll need our strap or our kitchen towel, whatever you're using. You could even use like a resistance band if you wanted to, but it would be better to have something that doesn't have so much give. So using a strap or a towel would be preferable. Okay, you could stay seated on your shins if you want. You could even place a block underneath your glutes to kind of take some of that weight off. Or if you prefer to sit in a cross-legged shape, you could do that as well. And then grabbing whatever prop you have available. I'm actually going to turn around and face the wall so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so sitting up nice and tall, finding your own version of spaciousness through your spine. I'm going to start on my right side. Again, you can start on either side that you want to, but it just gets kind of confusing with the directions if I am not a little bit specific. So taking your strap in your right hand. This is going to be option 1, and then we'll have a second option, okay? So option 1 is to take your strap in your right hand, and then starting to bring your, just like we did earlier in our tricep stretch, bringing your hand to the base of your spine with your right elbow pointing up towards the sky. Here's what's going to be different. Your left hand is going to scoop back. So now the back of your left hand is towards your spine, and you can grab onto your strap or your towel, whatever you have, and slowly start to walk your left hand up until you hit that point that your body says, okay, no more, that's enough. So this is option 1. Now this is a really big shoulder stretch. So please be gentle with yourself. Give yourself permission to make changes. Give yourself permission to ease out of it or ease into it. If you are feeling satisfied here, you could stay here. Or if this is just not at all working for you, you could slowly release. And then option 2 is going to be to take your strap and then roll your shoulders back, grab your strap, and then open up here. So it's a different shape, but still opening up through the shoulders. And then if your strap, having it so close together, is just not working for you, you could widen the length of your strap. So having your hands further apart. Okay. All right. Let's take another 3 or 4 breaths here, but just know that you can release at any time. You don't have to stay just because I'm here. If your body is asking you to go, you can go. Last exhale here. If you're ready to release, you could slowly start to move your left hand down. Releasing, taking your time. That's a big stretch. So let's just give our bodies a moment to kind of come back to center. And then if you're ready for the next side, you could choose option 1, option 2. But option 2 is, you don't have to switch sides. So you can just go into that if that's what you want to do. For option 1, you could take the strap in your left hand if you were following the side I was doing last time. And then your left hand will now be up. So you could bring your left hand to the base of your spine. Your right hand can swoop around toward your strap. Go ahead and grab on and slowly walk your right hand up. Just being mindful that this side could feel really different. This side feels super tight on me compared to my other side. So I'm not walking up as far. Notice if feelings of anxiousness begin to come up. If so, that's okay. If you're open to just staying here with it, breathing through it, you might decide to do that. You might notice that it even passes in just a few breaths. If you need to release sooner rather than later, you could also release. We'll take just another 1 or 2 breaths. If you're ready to let go, you could slowly unravel. One more breath here. Perhaps bringing your affirmation to mind. My body will open at its own pace. Or sorry, it is, my body will soften at its own pace. Or maybe I will soften at my own pace. If you're ready to move on, you could set your strap to the side. We are done with it for this session. And you might begin to join me lying on your back. And two options here. This is our final shape. And it's also how I'll be offering the time of rest today. So I guess there's three options actually. Option one, if you would like a little bit more opening through your chest and through your shoulders, you could join me for a version of supported fish pose. Number two, if you would like something a little bit more softening and just a little bit more easing into your neck, there'll be an option for that. And then option three, if you are just done and you are ready to just move into Shavasana, move into your time of rest pose, you can do so now. Okay, so option one for the thoracic, the upper back, the upper spine. You could take your blanket and tri-fold it. So I started with a square, and then I brought it kind of halfway to the middle, and then I folded it one more time. I guess you could also just roll it up into like a cylinder, but I prefer this because it's a little bit flatter. Okay, so setting that on your mat, running the width of your mat. You might even want a second blanket nearby just in case you need it for your head, but maybe start without it, and then I like to start with less and then add on as I kind of notice once I'm in the shape. So sitting facing away from your blanket, you might need to adjust a few times. So if you don't get it the first time, that's okay. I rarely do, but we'll be coming down so that, yeah, that's like not the right one. Okay, let's try this again. There it is. All right, so we'll be coming down so that the rolled up blanket is, if you wear a bra, it'll be at the line of your bra. If you do not wear a bra, then you'll notice that it is right kind of at the top of your ribs, the back of your ribs, and at the bottom of your shoulder blades, so that your arms can kind of drape over the top of it. It's not being caught up in on the blanket. And then you could keep your feet planted on the floor, or you could stretch them out. It's whatever you want to do. And then if you feel like your head is hanging too far back, you could take a blanket and support your head just by sliding the blanket underneath. So this is option one. This is a big thoracic opener. And I'm not going to like say how long to be here. I'm just going to say, be here until you don't want to be here anymore. And then when you're ready to ease out of it, you can find any resting shape that you want. You can find any Shavasana shape that you desire. Okay, option two is to skip this and then roll up your blanket. So I'm starting with the square again, and then I'm gonna roll up just once, the closed end of my blanket. Okay, and this is going to be for your cervical spine. So you'll lay on back and adjust until you find your cervical spine, so which is your neck. And if you find that it's not rolled up enough, You can literally just grab a hold on either side, lift your head, keep rolling it until it comes to the width and thickness that you want. And what we're going for here with this cervical spine is that we want our head to be opening up toward the blanket behind us. So we're completely resting our head back, and we are encouraging the natural curve of the cervical spine, because we spend so much of our time with our heads forward, either on a phone, a laptop, or something else. So this encourages the natural curve of your spine, of your cervical spine specifically. Okay. And again, I'm not going to give a specific time of how long to be here. I'm just going to encourage you to listen to your own body. How long do you want to be here? And then just be in this space until you don't want to anymore. What I will say, to give you a sense of time, if you've already moved on to your Shavasana, or maybe this is where you're taking your Shavasana, is that we'll be here for the rest of this recording for the next 3.5 or so minutes. And I'll let you know when those 3.5 minutes are complete. You can stay in this place for as long as you want. There is no pressure to rush off if this is still serving you. If you are ready to begin moving out of your time of rest, and you are lying on your back, you might slowly start to find your way over onto your side. If you are in the thoracic fish pose option, then you might just be mindful of moving the blanket out from underneath you. And then slowly and with your own timing, you could find a seated shape. Option to leave your hands where they are, or you might join me with hands at heart center. And then if you'd like, you could join me for one collective breath, starting by letting all of your air out. And then we'll breathe in together. Thank you for joining me in class today. It is my hope that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.